Okay, it's 7 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. There are seats open in the front for those of you standing in the back. There's a few open seats.
Janine's here, Jude.
Evelyn, can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Marquez,
Here.
trustee Weekly,
Right here.
trustee McAvoy,
Present.
vice president Welch.
Here.
President Lawson.
Here. Welcome to the June 5th meeting as we wrap up the school year. Si necesita traducción en español, por favor llama al 978-890-5137 y presione 83770411 el signo de número para la contraseña. Si asiste a la reunión en persona y necesita interpretación al español, solicite un transmisor situado al fondo de la sala. The public is encouraged to speak to the board on issues of concern, whether or not the issue is on the agenda. To address the board, please complete a speaker's card available at the entrance to the room, and you can hand it to Evelyn up at the dais. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes each unless otherwise noted. If you wish to speak to the board on a subject listed on the agenda, you'll be called on at the time that the item is being considered by the board. If the item is not on the agenda, you'll be called on during oral communication. With that said, do we have any changes to the agenda? None. So we need a motion to approve the agenda, please.
I move we approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Oral communication, last time I looked, we didn't have any, Evelyn. No? Okay, no oral communication tonight. So that brings us to 6.1, recognition of our international staff.
Thank you. Well, spring is the time for celebrations, and this past month we recognized all of our staff through various staff appreciations, events, and so forth at the school sites and around our district. But tonight, we would like to especially recognize our staff who joined us from other countries. So I'm so thrilled to see so many people here in the audience, and we have a few online as well. This is such a wonderful treat. For those in our audience who may not be aware, over the past several years, the United States and certainly the Bay Area have experienced an educator shortage, ranging from teachers to paraeducators. And this is due to multiple factors, such as decline in enrollment in teacher preparation programs and other high cost of living and so forth. At the same time, our board adopted goals on equity, and as it relates to human resources, the goals were perfectly timed to propel us to reach even farther and wider across our nation and internationally to recruit a diverse and experienced workforce. In human resources, we took these goals very seriously, as we know the impact of how a solid, productive, caring, and experienced workforce affects our student growth academically, socially, and emotionally. We set out to find solutions, and we began by forming relationships with Gwen and Mai from Nexus Ed Solutions, Hannah Gilman from GeoVisions, and Lagaya Avenida, who may be on the call tonight as well. They assisted us with opening up the recruitment doors to other countries. We've had a long-standing relationship with Spain and have recruited many Spanish bilingual teachers from Spain over the years, and recently added Mexico. We began the recruitment process by partnering with these global companies to recruit from other countries, and I'm proud that we've met our goals of closing the educator gap in these hard-to-fill positions by adding diversity to our workplace as well. Our students have benefited from the experienced middle school, special education, and bilingual teachers, the paraeducators who stepped right in to fill these difficult positions, or hard-to-fill positions, in these areas. So moving from another country and settling into Redwood City is quite a transition. We have 62 total RCST staff out of approximately 560 that fall within these ranges of staff that have arrived this year only from other countries. And those include Colombia, Mexico, the Philippines, Spain, China, Zimbabwe, South Africa, and the Dominican Republic. The district office and site staff has also welcomed and embraced our new team members in the fall by hosting dinners, driving staff to sightseeing adventures or the grocery stores, and assisting our employees in obtaining special items to add function and beauty to their new homes. Ann Barriafa, Sarah Cullum, Kathy James from our staff development team went above and beyond, aside from their exemplary contributions of coaching and mentoring. So thank you. The special ed department, led by Director Maeve Mulholland and Associate Director Jude Noyes and Bernadette Garcia, who interviewed, hosted monthly and weekly trainings to assist in the adaptation of hosting individual education plan meetings and IEP writing, nuances within our new databases, working with students within the curriculum and other professional development. And so it was truly a group effort in welcoming and supporting our new staff. I also want to thank the teachers at the schools and the staff development team at large, the administrators and staff who really embraced our new challenge and really welcomed with open arms our staff. This was relatively new and bringing a lot of people together and the various adaptations and transitions that come with that move. So the trainings and impromptu assistance have been so appreciated. So all of you out there and virtually in our audience, I really appreciate how you have fostered such good relationships with our students through your actions, tone of voice, encouraging words, the contributions in the areas of teaching, and the work of our paraeducators. The one-on-one supports with our students have been so invaluable. We've been thrilled with the humility, the belief in our students, and the work ethic of our international staff. And so while we might say goodbye to just a few, we will say also hello to a few new staff members in August. So we want to take this formal opportunity to thank you, all of our international staff, for risking and moving to an unknown country and leaving your homes and families for this new adventure to work with our students and help further their success. I can see the dedication in your eyes and when you smile every day, especially when you come into HR and say hello. I have such good memories. So I know Dr. Baker wanted to say a few words, and we'd love to take a group picture, and then we have a special cake outside for you to conclude our celebration.
Well, good evening to all of you, and thank you for being here this evening. I know when the first international teachers came in early, I guess it was in August, right? And the last part of July, there was a huge meeting in this boardroom. And I recall mentioning to those that were here that growing up as a military brat, because my dad was a JAG officer, I lived in Asia as a child for a while. And his last tour of duty was in the Philippines when I was in middle school. I was just starting middle school. And so we were there for 4 years. And what an adjustment that was for our family. It always was an adjustment when one is moving, but especially to another country with another culture, another language. So I really embraced everything that Wendy and her staff did to get you to be here and work here in the Redwood City School District. I'm so pleased that you came. We were so energized to see you all in here smiling, and I was thinking, oh my God, they're gonna be crying. But no, you weren't. You were happy and thrilled and ready to go with such energy and such enthusiasm and wanting to make a difference in the students in Redwood City. The students in Redwood City are, definitely the heart of the school district. They come first, and we know you think in that manner just as we do. So for all that you have done while you are here and while you continue to be here, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for having the courage to get on that plane, come across many, many miles over the ocean, and to be here with us and to experience a different manner of how you live. Anne and Kathy and Sarah, thank you so much for all your hospitality that you did to ingratiate and make sure that they were taken care of and being involved in different types of holidays and different types of traditions that we do here that are not done in their country. So I thank all three of you so much for that. And Maeve and Jude and Bernadette, thank you for all your hand holding that you did through this process and really made it successful. We are definitely in a teacher shortage here in this country. And that's one thing that we hear about all the time, whether it's on social media, whether it's on the news, whether I'm reading something that's coming from the state, how the states within the other states within the United States are having to work in different manners to attract teachers from other countries, other states to come and work in their districts. And I applaud you. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope for those of you that are continuing to be with us, that you will, stop by, say hello. We're always available if you ever need anything. You either pick up the phone, you're really good. People are good at texting, people are good at emails, whatever. We answer to any of the different types of devices that one may use to communicate. So with that being said, thank you so much again.
Does anyone on the board want to have any words? Or? Yeah, it's fine.
Great. I'll just reiterate a little bit and say thank you so much to the international staff. And it's the positivity that you bring to our district. It's really enhances the students' education. Transitioning to a new country, as we've already said, into Redwood City, it takes a big leap to be able to do that. And so just thank you. And I commend you for taking on that challenge and handling it with such grace. I hope that your journey here, and it kind of sounds like it from hearing how the staff here was supporting it, was filled with like the warmth and grace that you deserve. And I'm glad to hear that many are coming to continue on next year. That's absolutely. So again, just thank you for taking the leap and joining us on our mission to educate and inspire. I know that your presence here has made a significant difference. And so we're grateful for everything that you've done.
Yeah. I want to just say thank you as well. I won't repeat everything everyone said, but I hope that your experiences is that one of the things we value in our district is cultural awareness and appreciation. And we want our students to appreciate differences, appreciate similarities, appreciate other cultures. And we're so grateful that we were able to add to our grouping of staff that had come from other countries, right? Because we do have a lot of immigrants in Redwood City, and we very much value that. And thank you so much. I did get to meet and go out with some of you in some fun ways, which was great. So I did get to know a few of you as well. And I do want to really say thank you very much again to our staff who really helped welcome all of you and support you. So thank you.
Did you want to? Oh. No, are we breaking? I don't know what the plan is.
So due to the large number of guests in our room, which is lovely, I think we would love to take a picture on the stairs if you wouldn't mind. And then we have our fun cake outside and they're cutting it madly so that we can enjoy, have a sweet treat and enjoy the evening. Yes.
Did you want to come up and say something?
Yeah, can you come up and just turn the microphone on with the button on the right, the little person?
There you go.
Perfect.
Good evening. Right, in our culture in Zimbabwe, since we are leaving, we need to say goodbye. So I hope you can afford us this chance to say goodbye to your team, Ms. Wendy Kelly. I think when you first met me, it was in August, and we had accommodation crisis. Yes, but I just want to thank you so much, especially to Anne and your family. I think you taught us what is called kindness, and that was a big lesson. You're talking about cultural diversity is something that I'll take back to Zimbabwe. It was very touching, and she represented the American people very well. And I just want to thank you for that. Then secondly, I just want to thank the district for the mandate that you gave us. And I'm sure we executed it perfectly and with a lot of professionalism. Trust me, Wendy, Zimbabweans are hardworking people. And I have no grain of doubt that what you asked us to do, we did it well. And I just want to thank you for the experience. It was my first time to meet, students with autism. And I want to tell you this, I learned a lot. And I discovered that I had passion, which I never knew I had in Zimbabwe. So it was really a good experience for me. And I also gained Spanish along the way. Yes, I did. And I want to thank my colleagues for the job well done. It wasn't easy, but we're able to adopt. I told them, if you fail to adopt, you're going to be extinct. So we did adopt to the new culture because there's certain things that we met, it's so difficult. In Zimbabwe, we spank, discipline. But here it's a no-go area, So because for me, it was an experience because I was in the disciplinary committee and I was very tough with students, but here you are where we have something which is new to you, but, that learning curve and also being humble, because back home we are teachers, okay? Yeah, though we are para-educators, but we are teachers. I've been teaching for the past 20 years. And, so when you get into the classroom, you got you adopting and seeing how you go about it. It was a lovely experience. And, for Redwood City, I think my heart, you'll always be a special place in my heart. Yeah, So I just want to say, I will quote, and the author is unknown. He said, "What is the meaning of life?" To which he replied, life has no meaning, but it is a chance to give meaning. And your team, Wendy Kelly, thank you for giving us a chance to have meaning. I thank you.
Well, it was our pleasure just to greet and get to know all of you. And we thank you again for the year and for coming tonight. It was such an honor to see all of you here in person. And we will go out into the foyer and continue celebrating. Thank you.
Probably about 10, 15 minutes.
So for those that are online in this meeting, we're going to take a break for about 10 or 15 minutes, and we will come back. Okay, thank you for that break. That was nice with the cake. I hope everyone online grabbed their own cake also. We we are moving on to 7.1, Connect Community Charter School presentation.
That's before. All right, there we go with the cake. I don't know. Okay, you want to come stand up? So thank you for having us tonight. And I see there's people I've known a long time in this room and people I've just met. And I've been trying to watch as many board meetings as I could this year. And I really have enjoyed all the school presentations and just as a school leader, as a longtime resident of Redwood City and a parent of a student who went K-8 through the district, I just am so impressed and appreciative of all the initiatives that are happening in our schools. And so I wanted to come and talk a little bit about what we've been focusing on at Connect this year. I told some of you I'm very nervous. I could talk about Connect all the time, but I'm nervous right here. And we had field day today and was really hot outside. So we're all like,
It was.
"Oh, okay." So it's been a warm day. Anyway, I have 3 staff members who are participating tonight. I have Amanda Vaughn here, who is our art teacher and also works on literacy and ELD. I have online, I don't know how this, do you pipe them in? But they should be there. Dominique Burrito, who is our 7th grade teacher, and Adam Center, who is our 2-3 teacher. So they're all going to share this presentation with me, and I'm glad they're here. So starting off, I wanted to tell you just a little bit about some of the academics we've been working on this year and just talk about a few of them, not everything. And we've really been focusing on creating a more robust and also well-rounded academic experience for our students at Connect. As you may know, PBL is one of the project-based learning or inquiry-based learning is one of the core elements of our charter. So we've been really working this year to embrace the PBL and try to improve it and start working really towards attaining that gold standard PBL level. And part of this has been increasing or improving the academic elements of PBL, right? So making sure it's not just projects, but that students are doing a lot of learning through the PBL. So we've seen some units this year that are interdisciplinary. For example, our 4-5 team did a unit on, our 4th and 5th grade team did a unit that involved reading a novel about an animal, I think it's a gorilla, and then in science, studying habitats and doing some research about animals. And then they traveled to the zoo as kind of a culminating event, but also part of their research. And then their project was to create a zoo enclosure, and they had to present their research and say why it would be a better zoo enclosure for that animal. So we're really trying to make sure we're incorporating literacy into our PBL, as well as, we have a lot of English learners, so that's speaking part, presentation, and we have seen really high engagement this year with PBL. And one of the things that I hadn't really thought about, but really noticed this year is that our English learners are also very engaged because, instead of just reading or writing worksheets, they're able to participate. And we have so many Spanish speaking students, bilingual students, and bilingual teaching assistants that they can engage. We have materials in Spanish. And so I've really enjoyed seeing that this year. The other part of PBL that has been a focus this year is that community engagement piece. So for example, our middle school did a unit on natural disasters and disaster preparedness, and they were able to get the fire department to come in and teach them how to use a fire extinguisher. And so we're really trying to pursue these community connections. And next year, we want to continue working on authenticity, bringing in real world problems, and creating more opportunities to engage with the public in that presentation element. So we're going to keep going with the PBL and hopefully move towards that gold standard PBL. Another big focus this year has been literacy. I'm sure everybody's involved with the science of reading right now. And, our students, like so many students, have been struggling with reading, especially post-pandemic. And we've been asking ourselves, how can we move our students towards being reading at grade level? So Amanda is one of our literacy specialists, and we have another literacy specialist. They've been pushing into classrooms, helping teach the teachers also more strategies for instructing readers, exploring science of reading curriculum. We have not adopted a new curriculum yet, so we've been trying to figure out where to go with that, doing some professional development. And then our literacy specialists work with small groups to give that individual instruction. So we have really seen a lot of growth in reading. Our kids still have growth to make. But what I've noticed is a love of reading and a culture of reading that is starting to grow. When I walk into a room and it's reading time, even our littlest ones, they're actually reading. I think there was a lot of page turning before, and now I see kids reading, they're asking for books, they're moving along the continuum of more difficult reading. So, in our assessments, we're seeing that growth as well. So it's very exciting. And I saw one day 2 little TK students, they grabbed a chapter book that was sitting outside our office, and they're both open it and they're telling this whole story in Spanish, and they're turning the pages, and just seeing that engagement and them wanting to learn, I think has been just so fantastic this year. So just today, we've decided on what we want to purchase for science of reading curriculum and some professional development. We're such a small school, it's hard to send people to the trainings. but we're doing part of the training the trainer model. So having a couple of experts and then they'll train our staff. So we're excited where we're going with literacy. And then the third thing I wanted to tell you about is we've also been going through Universal Design for Learning training, working with the county office and some trainers there. And they've been coming to staff meetings. Next year, we'll continue that with some coaching and some more workshops. And, again, just really trying to have some conversations about what are the barriers that are getting in the way of our students' learning and how can we address those barriers? How can we start lesson planning from the ground up to meet the needs of our students instead of, having the lesson and then putting Band-Aids to make sure students are connecting with it. So those are some big areas, a lot of reflection about, what are we doing well? And we talk about those in our professional learning communities. What are we doing well? Where are our areas of growth? And so I'm excited about what we're doing. And I will pass it along to Amanda to talk more specifically about what we're doing to support our English learners.
Okay. Hello, my name is Amanda Vaughn. I just want to give you a little background about myself. This will be my third year coming up at Connect. I have taught in a lot of schools here in Redwood City. As an art teacher, I was at Roy Cloud for a couple of years, John Gill before was Orion, and North Star. So I have a lot of experience in different schools in the school district, and I'm so impressed by what I see at Connect Community Charter. For one thing, it's a very small school, and also that it's committed to its newcomers. So we have a large percentage of the school, I believe, out of 150 kids, I believe we have 20 newcomers. And so when you consider that these students are often coming to the country and engaging in a really rich environment, not having even been in the country sometimes for a few days, and they're already at our school. And the environment at this school is so well suited for them because they are encountering other students often that they know already or family members, and they're just so welcomed. And I've seen them blossom. I've seen kids from last year coming as newcomers this year, full on sentences, conversations, friends, connections. So the way that it serves newcomer students at this school is so important for their development because they have that silent period when they first come in. We all know about the silent period of newcomers where they first come in, they're not saying anything. But there's a lot that's going on in their thinking and their development in that time. So this school services kids in lots of different ways through ELD instruction. First of all, I think that there's assessments that go on very quickly, getting those initial assessments when they come in, getting them understanding exactly how much education they have in their countries that they're coming from, how much formal education they've had, and also how much exposure they have to the English language, and then giving them some direct instruction on that based on their level. So if they're a 1, 2, 3, or 4, right? So there's designated time that's broken down for each grade level, or actually in groups of grade levels, depending on their actual language abilities across grade levels, and there's directed time for that. And so when you consider that there's a challenge, you have to give them direct instruction on speaking, engaging with other students, feeling that sense of ability or connection, or giving them the tools to give that initial connection based on those levels. So we give them a lot of support around that. I believe that one of the best things that I can see about at Connect is not only myself and the 2 other literacy specialists that help with various different levels of ELD, is the 3 aides, classroom aides that we have that are bilingual, that are working with them in small groups, the middle schoolers, kindergartners, every single grade level. I see it every day, all day, small groups, one-on-one. They do what it takes to reach the students. They work, I think the important designation is that we work with students based on their levels, 1, 2, 3, and 4 on their ELD levels, but also inside the classroom to helping them to engage with the content that's happening as it's happening, and making sure that they have what they need to engage as the actual lesson is going on. So you're hitting them on both sides. I think that one of the things that I'm most excited about at Connect is that there's no student that is getting missed. We have 150 kids. We know these kids really well, and the staff there's multiple staff members that are connecting with the kids throughout the day to make sure they get what they need in terms of their social emotional learning, but also in terms of their language support. So there's a difference between ELD, which is where you're really helping them have that content and, language speaking abilities and vocabulary building than just reading instruction. So they're getting help in both areas. Another thing I really want to say is, aside from the staff, we have a lot of literacy coaching and special training that's given to the staff. We have the paraeducators, but also the use of technology. We use a lot of technology to help our newcomers and students with different levels of English language speaking abilities. For example, an iPad that will translate text immediately. We have math books that are written for them in Spanish, a lot of supports, and we use technology. And I think that's important. And we encourage the students to use technology to help themselves. And I think that's done on an individual basis. And like I said, it's a small school. So I'm feeling so blessed because I've seen a lot of schools in this district. And I think that the newcomers particularly, and all English language learners, are getting a really great experience at Connect. So I just want to say that.
Yeah, and then for next year, we're going to be using the ELL Elevation platform to support our English learners and our staff. So that's where we're going with our professional development and especially to support that's the need for the right curriculum, right, for our ELD and also for our integrated ELD. All right, and so I have Dominique online who's going to talk about some of the enrichment opportunities at Connect.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name's Dominique. Last name is Burrito, kind of like the food, spelled a little bit differently. This is my third year teaching. I taught 2 years prior at Fremont High School, in Sunnyvale. And this is my first year at Connect. So, it's been very exciting going from high school to middle school because there's so many more opportunities and programs that we can do with the middle school that you're not able to do as well at the high school. So this has been really cool. This year we've gone on a ton of field trips, especially revolving around environmental science. We went on a field trip to a park nearby where they ended up talking to the students about fire safety and how there's good and bad fire for environmental science, how it can help the area. And exciting news, tomorrow we are going actually up to Big Basin to kind of wrap up that environmental science chapter, where they're actually going to see what happens when a fire goes through a forest and the regrowth of it. And another exciting part of that is we are the third school to come back to Big Basin since the fire. So we're like in the top, and we kind of got squeezed in there because of one of our prior field trips to Angel Island. We were very short-staffed as far as chaperones because one of our teachers got COVID the day of. And so we went off on this field trip, and our kids are such little troopers. They pulled through, and they were recognized actually by the interpretive ranger to the point where he started talking to the other park rangers about Connect and how empowered and intelligent and hardworking our students were. They contacted me at Big Basin. They're like, "Oh, we heard about you guys. Do you guys want to come up?" And I was like, "Heck yes, this is such an amazing opportunity." So we've been going on some really cool field trips, and one of the things that really helps is our newcomers, because it's not always about necessarily the content, but getting a chance to build that community with the students because they're so new and it's scary and they're in a new place, but it helps build bonds and friends. So we've seen some good friendships come out of these field trips. Let's see, some other things that we ended up since I'm mostly focusing on middle school, because 8th grade revolves around government and democracy, we ended up having Eastside Palo Alto Mayor Antonio Lopez come in and talk with the students about how they can get involved in government and politics if they are interested in it, and what they can do within their local community to be a part of it. And then we also had Paul Bocanegra, who's another person. He actually ran against Mayor Antonio Lopez. And he talked about the prison systems and, how all the political stuff that he ended up getting involved with to try and make changes. And he's actually from the community. So it's bringing in that connection, exactly what our namesake is. So it's been really, really amazing. Getting to have all these opportunities that I feel like you don't usually get to have at another school.
Thank you, Dominique. Yeah, so enrichment of our, like they've both said, we are a small school, so it's difficult to have a lot of programming, but we really do try to have more offerings for our students. We have a middle school elective program. It's just 2 days a week, and we have Amanda who teaches art. We have a music teacher. We do a sports elective. We have K-5 art. Students have art and music once a week. We do cross-age buddies. That's always a lot of fun to watch the older kids, especially with the younger ones. We've started launching into some athletics. We have a volleyball team this year, and like they said, lots of field trips and sleepaway camps. So we are always trying to build in experiences for our students. I do think it helps with creating community, but also with language development. Okay, we can go on to the next slide. Mental health. So mental health and SEL is an area I'm really particularly proud of at Connect. We, I know I've heard other schools speak about, right, post-pandemic, there have been a lot of mental health challenges with anxiety, with depression. It was hard for students to transition back to school. So we have been working on creating a comprehensive school counseling program. We have a full-time school counselor. Well, it probably is going to become 50% because our needs actually have decreased a little bit, and then a full-time school-based therapist through the organization CASI. And they work really well together to kind of triage. So the CASI therapist takes the students with more severe needs. The school counselor deals with the more day-to-day stressors, maybe the conflict, also helps with attendance and more of the day-to-day sort of level tier 1 or tier 2 things that come up. As part of our school counseling program, we created a referral system, and anybody can refer a student to speak to either the counselor or therapist. So a parent, a teacher, a staff member, another student. And what that has allowed us to do is to be really proactive. So instead of waiting for a problem to occur and like, oh no, call the counselor, we've been able to really keep an eye and say, oh, it looks like Amanda's having a hard day. Let's refer her over to talk to one of these people. And we have really noticed an improvement in mental health. I mean, kids are in class more, they're not out of class. We see that they're happier. We have when visitors come to our campus, they're like, your kids are so nice. They seem so happy. And so I feel like it's been really a successful program. And students are self-referring, which I really think is key, right? They'll come to the office and say, is it okay if I go talk to Miss Gabby? I'm like, definitely. So they fill out the referral form, and then, she'll come and get them when it's time. Parents call and they also fill out the referral form. So that's been really key into making sure that students are getting the help they need. And then both our counselor and our therapist are out around campus. They're at supervision, they're walking around, they're doing presentations in classes. They're doing small groups. Our school-based therapist actually ran a girls' leadership group, and then they just went and did a presentation to all the classes about body positivity. So we're also trying to engage students in that role of educating each other. So I'm really proud of that. I think, fortunately, mental health at Connect is doing really well. We take a restorative approach to problems when they do arise. Of course, sometimes you have to have consequences, but we really do try to work with students when there's been an issue on that counseling piece. Like, you've made a mistake, something has happened. All right, maybe we have to have a consequence, but then let's follow up with the counselor so that we can figure out how to move forward and not keep repeating those mistakes. A second part of our mental health and SEL approach is our social emotional learning curriculum. This is another cornerstone of our charter. And something else we've really focused on this year, we had professional development with a coach who has a curriculum related to the 6 Seconds program. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And so all of our teachers have been trained. There's grade level curriculum. We start the day with a SEL class meeting time. So every teacher is supposed to be teaching these SEL lessons and then incorporating it throughout the day. And we feel like then that creates a common language, right? Students are hearing the lessons from year to year, from teacher to teacher, and we are all approaching social emotional learning in a similar way. As part of that, we have also coaching. So we have a staff member who serves as coach, who meets with teachers to work on the social emotional learning lessons, to observe them, to meet the coach we have. The professional coach is remote, so they meet together on Zoom. And I think that's also really made a big difference for our school. And then lastly, we brought back a recognition program this year. It was called the Wolf Packs. So students at our monthly assembly get a certificate for, this is really bad, but I can never remember the acronym, persistence, attitude, community, and kindness. And so that's been nice to have these assemblies once a month, invite families in, again, trying to build that bridge to community. So I'm really proud of where we've come with our mental health and SEL program. And that is all of that. We could go to the next slide. Student voice. I mentioned a little bit about this, but we have started some lunchtime clubs this year. That's been fun. And while we don't have a big enough school really to have a official student council, we try and create opportunities for students to engage with projects of their own choosing. So for example, getting Mr. Bocanegra to speak, that was the doing of some middle school 8th grade boys who heard about him and they said, we want to get him. So they wrote him an email, he responded, and then they arranged the visit. We have another group who, of course, there's always complaints about cafeteria food, right? But they've been writing to the district about their concerns and trying to arrange a talk about the food and learning more about the food. What else? We did have a student advisory council. It kind of fizzled because the students, they were a little fractured of what they wanted to do. But some of the small things, student advisory council, for example, wanted to be able to eat outside. So they went through all the steps of, well, who do we get permission from? And how do we get supervision out there? So trying to get students, give students a chance to solve the problems they're interested in solving as they come up. And that's same with individual passion projects. And that's our girls leadership group when they did their body positivity talk. Okay, next slide. Events. All right, we have a lot of events at Connect, and I think Adam is online to talk about our events.
Good evening. My name is Adam Center. I'm a new teacher at Connect Community Charter School this year. I was a outdoor educator in outdoor ed for 10 years in Pescadero. So it's really refreshing coming to the classroom and bringing some of that passion there. I'm going to go through, we had a project presentation night about 2 weeks ago when all the students were able to bring their hard work to the parents and to the community, and we had the open campus. It was a very beautiful thing. It was really nice to see the literal connecting of communities that evening and other events. On down the arts projects, Mrs. Vaughn has been a champion of the arts for the students, helping them get confidence and recognition. She's really put her heart and soul into that, and the kids have. It's been very obvious with the eagerness for the kids to elect to go to art in their free time during the day. One of my passion projects is our permaculture in our gardening, in our garden boxes. A couple of weeks ago, we were able to have a volunteer day. Some parents came in to really rock, and some students came in and really rock, and they helped us majorly to complete some projects, build community, and just kind of like celebrate togetherness in terms of having a common goal of beautify our garden and just make the space more green. My goodness, is our community connected with the families we have. It's, as a new teacher to the school, I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but we have whole families from TK to 8th grade in the school, and seeing their camaraderie and pride in each other in our school day is really nice. Today we had an exceptionally hot field day where we had 150 kids on the field and jump houses and bucket brigade races and on the wall, and just kind of an end of the year celebration. And it was amazing, and not one injury, not one complaint. And it was beautiful, and it should be something everybody could experience. Another thing we did this morning, which is really impressive, is our monthly assembly, where our TKK class put on a play for the whole school. Ordinarily, if we all get together as a school, it's a pretty chatty bunch, but we really stepped up. Our kids stepped up and gave the TK and K kids like a silent crowd when they were doing the Three Little Pigs. And it was just really nice to like see them pay respect of attention to the kids. It was beautiful. Yeah, the Connect events are really special, and it's something that stood out to me as a new teacher this year. It's been really exceptional to have the epitome of what I like to see as like a tight-knit community. That's pretty much all I have, aside from our openness to the parents to come in and chat with the teachers and staff, and the kids come and go every day. Like, it's, to me, somewhat alternative to what I'm used to in the public schools. It's a beautiful openness to the school, and the kids really have a legacy there, and they really show, and it really shows. It really shows. It's a beautiful space, and our community, it's even hard to define. It really is.
I think that's it. Thank you, Adam.
Hey.
So there you have it. There's been a lot going on. It's been a great school year. I can't believe it's June. And we're out next week, but it's been a really great year. I think we built a foundation for things to come, right? It's been rocky coming back from the pandemic. This is just my 3rd year. So being new, it's taken me a while to get my feet on the ground, but I feel like right now we're well suited to just keep growing and improving next year. So I'm very excited. And thank you for letting me come this evening. And if you have questions or comments.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'll open up to my colleagues.
Thank you so much for coming here and giving a presentation. It's really nice to hear from you. And I see you on well, sometimes you're in the audience, but I see you on the Zoom almost every meeting. And I really appreciate how you really want to be a part of the district, and that recognition that your kids are living in our community as well, and your kids are our kids. So anyway, just thank you very much. And I know we've had a few conversations over the years, and I just want to say I really appreciate the effort to get the students out on field trips and the environmental ed, kind of outdoor ed, hands-on experience that you're offering the students. I really do feel like that's really valuable. And it's great that you're taking them off-site. And then also it was nice to hear from you, Adam, about some of the gardening and things happening on site. And then, of course, I'm always about enrichment for particularly for students who don't necessarily get that in other arenas. Really, school is the place that they get the enrichment and get to have those experiences they don't necessarily have in their home life. So thank you for doing that. And really look forward to seeing some of the academic data, as I know we're all coming back from the pandemic, and some of it is a little wonky still because, of course, we're starting with some baseline that we got last year, I think, and comparing it to this year and moving forward. So maybe at the next presentation, we could get more of that data as well. But for tonight, I really appreciate sort of that bigger picture of all the amazing things that you're providing your students. So thank you.
Yeah, I think it's great to have you here. I think we are all looking to serve the students of Redwood City, and I think that getting to crib notes about where our approaches may be similar, where our approaches may be different, and what's working and what's not working can let us together be smarter about the right approach to use for students. So, I mean, I think that's really where I orient in terms of the relationship that the district can have with Connect. So, especially with teachers who have been in the district and are with Connect, you're uniquely well poised to tell us where is Connect making different choices for the district than the district has made, and then where does that seem to be working out? So I would love to have a data-driven approach where we can learn about these differences. I know that you're exploring, you mentioned a couple different curriculum choices. We had put a lot of effort into curriculum selection there, and then getting to share notes on that in terms of seeing what's working and what's not would be wonderful. We spend a lot of effort on newcomers and trying to have a welcoming and effective approach there. So learning about how Connect is using technology, such as you mentioned Google Translate, to go and make accommodations for newcomers is especially interesting to me. I feel like we've seen, even in the last month, the state of the art in live language translation evolve very significantly with the release of GPT 4.0. Now their new voice mode is going to be enabled in the next, like, literally week or two. So, like, this is some of this technology enhancement and opportunities are happening live in front of us. And so it'd be great to share notes on that as we explore different technologies. So I'm looking forward to that ongoing partnership with you. One question, Dominique, you mentioned that you had taught in high school and then came to teach middle school, and said that there were certain things that you could do in high school, middle school, that you can't do in high school. And I would love to just hear a bit from you on that, if possible.
Hey, okay. So I feel like building the relationships, going on field trips, there's so much more that you can do. Whereas high school, you're kind of just rapidly turning over classes and you're rapidly just putting out information, where you can actually, with Connect, with it's so small, and being a middle school, I can see where the kids are struggling and help them with skills before they're heading off into high school, where it's very rapid fire. I'm currently teaching, like, I think it's 56 kids right now, whereas at the high school I had 160 by myself. And so it's just a very different environment. I always wanted to go on trips with my students, and because there's some really unique stuff in San Jose, with History Park. They have the Vietnamese museum in History Park and the Portuguese museum. I always wanted to go off to these museums or off to colleges, or there's so many different opportunities, but there was never any funding or real interest in it either. Whereas I feel like with middle school, we can still have that flexibility and be able to take kids out for these experiences that they wouldn't normally get.
Cool. Very cool. Thank you. So I would just like to know from folks, whether you feel comfortable sharing now or in an email later, some of the perceived differences in approach that the district has versus the approach that Connect is using, and advice on, like, if you could wave a magic wand and improve the district based on the findings that you have from Connect, what would your advice be? And then conversely, what can we do for you? As we've looked at a whole bunch of different curricula, can we share some of the research that we did and what went into the curricula that we decided to go with versus not? I should think and hope that we'd be open to sharing that. Yeah. So thank you for coming. Thank you for your partnership, and looking forward to learning more with you.
And I just to respond to that,
Yes.
in listening to the different board meetings, as I'm hearing other schools, I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. And I've reached out to different people at the district to say, oh, I heard you talk about this. Can you help me? So I think there is an opportunity for partnership, and I don't pretend to say what you could do better, but we could talk about what we think is working. And
Love
you
to hear
know,
the suggestions.
I think the more that we share and work together, just the better it is for kids. So I'm happy
Amen.
to build some bridges.
Thank you.
Thank you, of course, for the presentation. And thank you to Amanda and the other literacy specialists, because, you know, of course, you guys are dealing with the kids. Obviously, the teachers are too. But you guys are obviously giving them a lot of one-on-one and doing the PD with the teachers as well. So one of the things that obviously that I was very interesting to hear was how many newcomers, and you did say approximately 20 from the 150, which is
Yeah.
good. And, you know, from the presentation, you guys are making the connection with the family. So I think that's great. I'm just curious, obviously you guys are a small school, but when teachers or students have an issue and they want to talk to like the director of student services, who do you guys go to? I mean, are you one-man show or is there other?
I do all the jobs. I do. I do, and I'm also working on building a team. So for example, I was telling you, if we've had a full-time counselor, we're gonna shift that. This new person I'm getting is gonna be 50%, but he's gonna pick up some admin duties. Special ed, the director of special education also is starting to pick up some duties because I can't do everything, right? So it's been about building systems. When I started at Connect, it was everyone coming in, Miss Haley, Miss Haley, Miss Haley. So I can't do everything. So it's been about building systems, and I really believe in shared leadership. And so I really think about problem solving in terms of how can I empower other people to either problem solve independently or take on a leadership role. And, you know, that's been successful so far. And I think that speaks to why I think staff is happy too, because I try to give them responsibilities as well.
Okay, thank
I don't know
you.
if that answers your question. but-
Yes, thanks. And then of course, thank you to Dominique and Adam for your, the information that you provided. And I just went blank because I know I had something else to say. Maybe if I remember, I'll tell you guys, so I'll go ahead and let Mike speak, but thank you.
And also, we would like to be bigger. I mean, I know it's great to be small, but you know, we're all fighting for not fighting. We're all, we're all looking for students. We happen to be small right now, but you know, ideally we would not be so small, right?
How many middle schoolers do you have?
About 58, I think, right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so the biggest chunk of our students is in 4 or 5 right now, but we have between 16 and 20 at each grade.
And then remind me, because I went to visit you, 2 years ago, I think. But do you have one grade level or do you have? Yes.
So
one
we
each?
do lots of mixed age classes. We have TKK, 1, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 5s, and then 6, 7, 8. I think that's sort of a hybrid of self-contained and specialized. So like Dominique teaches social studies and science and PBL and ELD. So it's more like that 6th grade model maybe across the middle school.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I didn't have any questions or
Sorry.
comments, so I'll just say thanks, Haley and Amanda, for
Thank
coming
you.
here, and Adam and Dominique for being online. Appreciated you taking some time this evening and presenting Connect.
I was just going to ask you about the mixed age classes, so you just answered my question. Thank
Yeah.
you for that. But yeah, I appreciate everyone being here, and Adam and Dominique also. Dominique, I think I met you, right? Was that Dominique that I met? Yeah, when I visited for the
Project presentation. yeah.
presentations, yeah. And so anyway, thank you very much for your presentation. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having us.
Dr. Baker, did you have anything?
Just thank you so much, Haley, and we've met and
Yeah.
we'll continue to have our meetings as the year progresses next year.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
And
Thanks.
Dominique, if you want to connect over doing a cemetery field trip, email me. We can plan it ahead of time this time.
You're always looking to get.
That's why we got connected, because I was talking to Haley about the cemetery. I don't know how that came up. Yeah.
I would love to do that. And I want to do a research report with the kids on a person and have them do like a PBL where they give a presentation about the person's life and their experiences and who they are. And it just, I don't know, it brings some life back into those people. What they say, it's like you die twice. It's the first times when you die and the second times when you're forgotten. So like, let's not forget these people. They lived adventurous lives.
Life to the cemetery. So, all right. Thank you, everyone. You're free to stay. You're free to go. You don't have to hang out for our board meeting, but that's you two, Dominique and Adam.
Bye.
Really quick, David, you had said something about like working with other schools and stuff like that and information. So during one of the green conference that I think the district held, we went to it and we ended up reaching out with Woodside High School, and they have a green technologies program. And so we're talking about kind of overlapping with our schools at this point, like start working on a little bit next year, maybe implement it the year after. But so the kids can start working on green technologies and having an understanding of it, and then transfer into their academy over on Woodside would be like the dream. So we are trying to like reach out and try different models and work with different schools, and hopefully like working with all of our students, because that's a blooming new field, and it'd be great for our kids to get their foot in the door. So
Super cool. Thank you.
Great, thanks,
Good night.
everyone. We are on item 8.1, discussion of the board meeting calendar for 24-25. We all have it in front of us.
There is a calendar in front of everyone, and I know David and I had emailed, not spoken, emailed in regard to a date.
December 18th.
December 18th. And we checked with county council today, because you have to do your reorganization within a time period with that new legislative mandate that passed, several years ago? And so I was talking to Evelyn, as Evelyn put this together several weeks ago. Now, Rick, for the first interim, we normally bring that to the board twice. We have in the past. You just need it once?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just need it once. So David, you cannot be here on the 18th. That's correct?
Correct. I depart that morning.
Right, you depart that morning. So if we did the 11th, would that accommodate everyone? But we have to do, according to the law, we have to do it right after the 13th. So we can change this, so we can do either a Monday or a Tuesday board meeting. So everyone is here.
Is that for the board rotation?
That's for the board rotation. And it's also
It's just gonna actually pull up the policy.
here.
So
it
we
is.
have to
We've got-
remember-
we've
So,
got
yeah,
the info.
why don't you read what it is, just so we make sure.
It's from,
that-
it's, do you want me to have it? Do you want me to get it?
I can pull up her email.
Yeah.
So it's Ed Code 5017 says that the term of a newly elected trustee begins on the second Friday in December following the election. But the outgoing trustee continues to discharge their duties as a trustee until their successor takes the oath of office. The outgoing trustee metaphorically passes the baton to the successor trustee at the first meeting the district holds on or after December 13th.
It's late.
Yeah, it's late this
I
year.
remember
It's
talking
late
about
this year.
we need
And
a
then
policy.
is that the last sentence that she puts on the?
Yeah, so Ed Code 3514 says the annual organizational meeting shall be held on a day within a 15-day period that commences with the second Friday in December, following the regular election. So we would have to hold a meeting.
Either that Monday or that Tuesday.
Okay.
So the 16th.
Right. It's okay. So just what's best for people?
Yeah, I'm fine with either. It's just
Yeah,
the
it's the
16th or
20th
17th.
16th to 17th. So that means that even if you're outgoing, you would be at that meeting. if
Yes.
you're doing the change. Okay.
Right.
The metaphorical baton, sadly not a real one.
Are you fine with the first interim on this, on the 16th or 17th? Okay.
Would Tuesday work better just for posting purposes?
For which?
Posting,
So-
posting probably would be.
Yeah.
So why don't we try, well, let's go for the 17th? 17th? Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Sorry for the shuffle there.
So it'll be the 17th. 17th will be our one and only board meeting. One and only board meeting for December.
Oh,
Not-
we
so we
won't
went
do the
to the
11th. Just do the 17th.
December 11th.
December 11th is on the calendar.
Do we
Are
need-
we going to need the 11th? Probably not. But what concerns me is the first interim. So if we don't,
I mean, we could leave the 11th as, you know, we've done this before as needed kind of thing. Just so we all put in our calendar in case you need it, only because, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and there's a couple topics that we've talked about is having like, be interesting to like do a review in advances in pedagogy and some of these other topics that are important but not urgent. And just having a meeting that does not have a preset agenda of other things that would fill it might be
We might have
useful.
some Measure T stuff at that point as well, right? That maybe that's an opportunity.
that's an
for a
opportunity.
study
Yeah, that
session.
because the survey will have gone out and all of that
Measure
business.
S.
Yeah.
What's that?
S, Measure S.
I'm so, right, Measure S. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah. Okay, I was talking anyway. Right.
And then there was also, we'll talk to him for future board meetings. Should bring.
Oh, okay.
You had mentioned possibly a study
Oh.
session on AI and stuff like that. So
Right up your alley. You can help lead it.
So are we holding the 11th?
we're
as
holding
a
the 11th.
Placeholder?
We're holding the 11th, and
For the 17th, we definitely need one, right?
yeah, we
That's
definitely
the-
need it. We definitely.
Okay. I guess that's it for discussion.
Mhm.
Thank you. We're on consent items.
I'll move to approve.
Thank you.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
10.1 adoption of resolution number 11, year-end budget transfers.
Good evening. This is a standard resolution at this time of the year to move assigned or unassigned fund balances to cover expenditures potentially at the end of the fiscal year as we close the books.
Any questions? Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 10.2 approval of Prop 28 expenditure plan.
So this is the new expenditure plan for this current coming up school year, 24-25. So we are asking that you approve the proposition 28. And I thank you, Mike, for sending your questions. I'll get back to you. I'm still working with Rick's department on that.
Sounds good. I think you did have
Can I
one.
just say what kind of questions they were?
Yeah,
I'm
and,
sure
and
I
you
did.
had, and one I think you did answer. So I had asked just, how likely was it that the estimated funding was going to remain the same,
Oh,
right? Because we
given
did have
the
that
state
kind of,
budget, yep.
yeah, we
Yep,
kind of had
good
that
question.
surprise last year. And I, from what I hear, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that we're basing it on the last set of funding as opposed to whatever the previous model is. So we expect it to sort of be stable, but who really knows, right?
All I can say is back in the Great Recession, those of us who were here remember the state gave us a lot of money and then they took it back in the middle of the school year after we had already spent a lot of it. So yeah, so I think we have to go, I mean, you have to go in with a plan, but have a backup, right? Anyway, but I guess we'll be expending the money and then we have to backfill it some way. I mean, it's really, yeah. They say they're gonna give it to us at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Higher.
I think too, this was
It was,
something that was put in by the voters,
it was, yeah.
right? And that there's strings to it where it will get a little funky, where it might shift. I won't even say significantly, but it will be significant because it's only $1 million. Is if something goes awry with LCFF funding and Prop 98 guarantee, right? Where it may lower by tens of thousands of dollars, but I don't think it's something that we'll be talking about looking for $300,000 or $400,000 if something changes because of the tie to Prop 98.
And then the other two questions were the things that were in the board memo about what the expectation around that there's an annual board approved report in the manner determined by the superintendent, and also that where the website has where the funds are spent. And Anna sent me the link to the post that probably Jorge put it on. Yeah, that sort of described Prop 28 funding, which I had seen that part, but then underneath it, it has here's how it was spent too. So
Okay.
I actually think both of those were probably covered by that link, but anyways, those were the questions that I asked.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Or a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
10.3, approval of updated RCTA contract language and tentative agreement.
I'd like to thank the district team and the RCTA negotiations team for a productive negotiations session. It was efficient and productive, which is lovely. And we were able to really better the working environment and work on recruitment and retention efforts and update contract language. So these items are here for you tonight to hopefully approve. In doing so, employees will begin receiving these benefits for RCTA specifically starting on July 1st onward for 24-25, which will close negotiations for 24-25 with RCTA.
Questions or comments?
Actually, I just want to make a comment that I really do appreciate the district team certainly that worked on it, and of course brought information to us all along the way, us being the board members, of course. And I also just want to really thank RCTA for I think coming in with a very positive attitude, really working with us, coming up with solutions that worked for the union and all of our teachers, as well as the district, given our resources. So I'm really happy with the result of it. It was great to give everybody a raise, which they deserve, and then also, modify some of the language in some of the other areas as well. So I think it was a really good collective bargaining work this year. So thank you. I guess with that, I'll make a motion.
And I agree with
Oh,
your statements.
yes,
Thank you.
yeah.
And I'll second the motion as well.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. 10.4, approval of the SIPSA, school plans for student achievement.
So as you guys know, there's second turnaround with our SIPSAs and a little bit different, I hope, than the first time reading. So I know we have not approved our new LCAP goals. So we have the one more year on the current goals for the year, and then we'll update them, but the metrics are all the same for both of those years. So we made sure that the metrics was in there. So I know all of the principals worked really hard and trying to get these done as, it's our second go around this year. But we will not be, it'll go next year, we'll go again in the spring versus spring to spring. And we'll do all those updates. So we're asking you to please approve tonight's SIPSA plans so we can move forward next year.
Any questions or comments?
I mean, I'm just gonna say, like, this is the part that I find most frustrating because there's literally hundreds and hundreds of pages of data
Right.
that we're just gonna rubber stamp. Oh, sure, it sounds fine, right? And not have like a rigorous discussion about student achievement, even though there was a lot of thought that went into these, a lot of planning that went into these. I would like to see us have a venue as a board to talk substantively about the material in these SIPSAs that were thoughtfully prepared. Because again, there's so much material in here, and this is the core of what we do is make plans for student achievement, right? It's what a board does. So it seems like tonight we don't really have the right forum, the right timing, the right agenda to kind of dig into each of these SIPSAs to go talk about the data for each school, what's being done, what more could be done, when different actions can be taken. But I don't want to let that go, right? I want to make sure that we do have time to engage.
So let me make a suggestion, and this is always a time crunch, and the state puts the dates on there for us.
Understood.
So what we could do is when we come back in the fall, we can start our reports with this, knowing that, and the principals will be notified that we'll start in this fashion, and then as we finish, then we're going to come back again and see where we are now after the next dipstick. All
Yeah.
right. So if
Yeah.
we can go, my suggestion is to do that.
Mhm.
It's a timing issue. And like Anna and I were speaking, if we could bring this forward, like beginning of May, end of April, it would give us, even though it would be crunch time for all of us to read and have a couple or two or three of these for several board meetings
Right.
until the end, we could do it. But for right now, because of the constraint we're on, with the dates. I propose that when we come back, starting in August, we know right away that we're going to start not reading, but we're going to meet with the principals and dig deep into these reports. And then this is the time to ask your questions.
Yeah, I'd like to do that because again, like I appreciate the timing. I understand the forum. So tonight's not going to be a great chance to do it. If we can commit to having time to dig in and talk about this, this is such the meat of our job. I'd like to make sure we do it.
Right. And then it's a time for you to take when we do them either 2 or 3 at each meeting or 2, then you have your questions and we have the question, you'll have your questions. I'll get them out to the principals and the principals will be here and ready to answer.
Thank you.
It's not like something that's done on the spot either. Like we
Thank-
gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for hearing me out.
When I was reviewing them, and of course, we got all of them on Friday, so it's not a deep dive, like you said, but I really appreciated the thought that went in there and the relationship to the LCAP goals. And, I feel like every year we're sort of getting better at it. And what was striking to me are some of the similarities that the schools are doing, and then some of the unique things. And then I really appreciated the student voice that I saw there and highlighting those. And I really hope that we're taking that seriously. And it certainly seemed like we are, because students can tell us how we're doing. So I really appreciated that. And just a lot of good information in there. So one of the things that I was thinking about is, in addition to what I think David was just requesting, is for me, what I see is these site plans are going to be used by the principal, by the site council, by the teachers, by everybody at the site. And it's a very much site related document. I think it'd be interesting to hear from them either mid-year or whenever the timing's right, because you're right, there's always this timing crunch when it seems right for you as staff to sort of give that perspective of, okay, like, here's the plan we had, here's what we heard and what we kind of put into it. We looked at the data, we got soft data, hard data, whatever, and then here's how we're doing. That would be helpful, because we get these plans and we see all these activities, but then sometimes we don't really hear, well, how did they go and what's working and what's not working? And some of that is talked about in the SIPSs. But I know that they work with the site councils and the ELACs and all of that's happening. So although I appreciate that we need to dive deep, what I know is happening is, I think as a school site, they're all, they're diving deep. So if we could get some reflection from that, that would be helpful. And also for those of you who are really interested in that component, which I know you are, which is great, there may be opportunities where you could go to a site council meeting where they really are digging in deeper to that. Because I remember way back when I was on a site council, we were looking at the data for the school site and really trying to identify what were the needs. And now at the SIPSs, I think it's a whole nother level. So anyway, there may be opportunities, again, just how we go out for a literacy night or a science night. Maybe there's that key meeting at the school sites where they are digging deep, that if we got invitations as a board member, we could go attend those. Because I think it's going to be hard to dig maybe as deep as some people might like at a board meeting. With that said, we need to do it. But you know what I mean? Like, that's happening at another level at the school site. So just a thought. And I do want to say thank you to I assume it's the principals who are doing the bulk of the work and gathering data and stuff. And I know it's a ton of work. So thank you very much for all of that.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks. It's clear that a lot of work went into this to come with these really, a lot of detailed plans and aligning it with the district's LCAP goals. I know there was district office support, principals, site councils were involved. Really appreciate all that effort. Excited to see the implementation of MTSS. I know that's our top LCAP goal, and so it's neat to see all of that in there. It's interesting to see the regular use of diagnostic assessments, and I think that's going to be important for us to be able to monitor. I'm going to have a question about that in a minute. That I want us to be able to think about. All the discussion around designated and integrated ELD and how that's working, and the coaching, the professional development for our teachers. And of course the family and community engagement. But the thing I was wondering, this is the same thing that I think that we're all kind of wondering, like, how do we actionize this and make sure that we're making progress and understand what's moving and how things are going along. And so I had one thought on it and then a question on the, in terms of the monitoring the effectiveness. One of the things, so we had tried this not last year, but the year before with starting off the SIPSA reports with the data in there. But the problem was it was kind of like a point in time, right at that time, and there was no way for us to know. And we were seeing data from September or December or something like that. And I think what we're interested in, a couple of things that you've mentioned before, Dr. Baker, is cohorts. What are the cohorts of the students that are doing that? I think for data that is supposed to progress upward over the course of the year, the growth, not the actual level, but the growth, and being able to look at that, and data that we want to see declining, where are we on the previous year's trend? Meaning absenteeism, suspensions, things like that. Like being able to see the velocity as opposed to just the point in time, I think is going to be super helpful. So as we're thinking about how we want those presentations to come together, I think the rate of change is kind of what I'd be really interested in there. I'm really torn about the data part though, because I really struggle with, like, are we over diagnosticking our kids? I mean, that even came back in the feedback of like, well, maybe we should do reading and math separate for iReadies. I forget which plan or student was in there, but one of them was saying like, separate these iReadies out. You know, their kids are asking for
All the stuff they're asking
yeah.
for is all the enrichment.
Yeah, they're asking for enrichment. They're
Hands-on.
looking for hands-on group activities. I mean, we see that repeated over and over again. And yet we're seeing plans of making sure there's 45 minutes of iReady lessons inside of these SIPSs at some of our sites. Like, I don't know how we balance that in the diagnostic, our need for data to really understand how we're doing. Where I worry maybe I'm mentioning this because we've had this discussion before. I've heard your thoughts on it as well. So I don't think I'm saying anything new here. But I'll be really interested to see how we balance that out so that we're not over diagnosticking the kids. We're making sure that we're getting value out of each one. And that, you know, maybe if we have to go to something where we are getting a lot of value and using that for reporting. I'm going to throw this out there. It's not like we have to, but like if the basic phonics skills test is super valuable for being able to help us group our kids, maybe we should use that as reporting instead of having to have another diagnostic for it. Don't take that as like an action. I just use that as an example of what I meant by maybe we can find the ones that are useful and be able to develop that. The other thing in there is that there's a lot of reliance on professional development. And I love the fact that we have a lot of professional development here. But what I couldn't totally tell, and I'm sure you're working on all that, like, are we giving, you know, given the importance of it, do we have like adequate time and resources for, you know, particularly if it's going to be for the classroom teachers, for them to get the time to be able to do the professional development? Like, I don't know what steps are coming in there, but we want to make sure that there's a lot of awesome things in here, right? We have new curriculum and everything like that. We just got to make sure that we're building that capacity to be able to take that all on. Again, it's hard to tell from, you know, trying to read Friday to today, all of the plans and what's put on there. But those are kind of the things that I want to make sure that that's part of the monitoring too. Like, are we making sure that we're giving enough space for the capacity that people are able to build that in? We already look at family engagement, so I think that's great. And the last thing I'll say is that there's a focus on equity on all of these, and that's awesome. You know, I think that that's what we want in the district, and we can see it. That's what the LCAP is geared to be. It's an equity document, and we can see that in there. And it's really, you know, it's essential that, you know, we have equity at all our schools and providing necessary resources to support the, you know, the unique needs of each student. So let's just make sure that we continue to prioritize that and, you know, in our plans and discussions. So thanks.
Thank you, Mike. That was great. The last 2 years have been on the site council for Woodshead High School. So I feel like I have a new perspective on the SIPSA coming together. You know, this is my 9th year on the board, and we always get these like nice, neat, clean documents. And I know that it's a lot of work. I know there's a lot of hands and eyes that go into the SIPSA of it. Just participating in that process myself, I feel like I have a new appreciation for. And I'm going to use this word, but it's not in a negative way, for the messiness of it, because there's so much going on. You're here, you're there, you're talking to these people. And then it comes to us and it's all nice and neatly put together. So yeah, that was a neat process for me to go through as a parent at the high school. I appreciate all of the work that you've put in, that all the principals have put in, and everybody that's worked on these documents. So,
Wasn't there, at least this question's for you, wasn't there some talk about, when we're talking documents?
You're
That-
talking about the report.
Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, so what you're mentioning is there is legislation right now that CSBA is advocating for that would require the state of California, the Department of Education, to review all the reporting that they ask of the school districts and report on that. And what that means is like, what are they asking of us? How are they using those reports? And really to help, I think, them decide, okay, we're just over-reported. And then, CSBA had that nice glossy thing of like all the different reports. So I would guess that the SIPSs are, the LCAP and the SIPSs will still stay there. I think they're looking at all the accounting stuff we do. But hopefully some of that would get streamlined, right? Particularly, I mean, the LCAP, that's driving people crazy. I mean, the SIPSs, I feel like you've gotten it down to they were all about 40, I don't know.
About 40
We
pages.
worked
Yeah, I mean-
hard at really trying to, one of the things that came down from the county was if it doesn't have a metrics, don't put it in. So we're really working on that. And it's hard because, we have PTO budgets that AXA provides. So really trying to hone in. We had a needs assessment that was something that was new. And so Catherine and I have been really working hard with all of them. We met with every single principal and really went over like, these are the things that we want to see. This is what we need to do. So we're trying to fine tune as well, making sure there's a metrics, because we also want them when they're presenting to their school site councils, that they're along the way presenting how they're doing as well, because that's the metrics they need to be showcasing. And so we want to make sure that that's front and center. So you don't want to have too many metrics, but you want to have enough in there that's going to move the needle. And so that's one of the things we're working on. We're still fine tuning it. I think we fine tuned a lot and looking at it. And after going through federal program monitoring, we're really much more clear about what needs to be in there.
Yeah.
So Catherine has been really essential because when we went through the federal program monitoring, I mean, we really have to have certain things in there. So really working at fine tuning. Less is better with, quality. So that's some of the things we're working on to fine tune some, we still have a lot more to fine tune, but we're on the way.
Yeah.
For next year.
So we will come back to you first meeting in the fall to let you know what this report is going to look like. I am a bit concerned about if we're over testing myself, and I know we've been talking about this for our kids. Because there are some of our students who have said they're tired of it, and we looked at a schedule and I can see where you're just gonna say, let me just get it out of the way and get it done, and whatever happens, happens. And that's not what the test is for. The test is to find out how well you are doing and what are we doing that you're not getting what you need to progress. So several conversations. I've brought it up to the Gardner Center to help us with it. With Amy Gerdenstein, we were on a call today for about an hour and a half. She's going to pull in some of her team to help me with it. I talked about the overtesting. I talked about, looking at good data. What's good data to look at to see if students are progressing, and how often should you utilize that data, and how often should you give the test? Because I'm thinking every 6 weeks, and she's not too sure with the every 6 week comment. So I said, show me research where it says I shouldn't be doing this every 6 weeks. Who's out there doing something entirely different where it's less and they're getting the information they need? Because that's what I was taught many years ago. So she goes, let me do the research. Let me get my team together, and then I'll come back to you with what you may want to share with the board and principals and see if you want to move forward in this manner. So we're talking about it now.
Yeah, and then maybe on the school reports, you all can think about what the timing is on that, because it did feel like this year, maybe some of them came too early, because I don't think all the data was there. I mean,
didn't use data this year, if you recall.
I guess you're right. We did other data. What's that?
We didn't.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of 2 years ago then.
Yeah,
Some years
yeah,
blended.
we-
But anyway,